To you all, happy 2024. Welcome in to the first episode of the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast right here in 2024 on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I have missed you all, and I'm still your mayor of PHNX, and stuff was just in shambles around this office without me here for the last 10 days. This man did his best to hold it down without me. I appreciate you, sir. He is your thunderstick and my vice mayor, the one and only Jesse Friedman.
You're actually... You lost your mayoral authority while you were away.
I did?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you
To
that
who?
when you came back.
Why?
But, well, you see,
How?
we had Sean back on the show the other day.
Okay.
And so given the power that I was wielding while you were away, I declared Sean to be the vice mayor, even though he's away. He lives in Boston, but I agreed to allow him to work remotely. And I took over your mayorship, Derek. So
yeah, but that's like
fun while it lasted.
It's like vice president. You just do it in the case of me being sick or on PTO. But then when I return, I regain. Like when the president goes in for surgery, the vice president becomes president for that hour, Jesse. But when I wake up from anesthesia, I'm the mayor again, bitch. So don't forget that. All right, let's get stuff straight around here. Shane's trying to take my mayoral powers. Jesse's stealing them. I don't like this. This isn't how we're starting 2024 off. But I am very excited to be back, be here with you guys. I had some lovely time off. This man definitely did a good job of holding it down. Did shows without anybody.
Yeah, we were flying solo multiple days last
wild.
week, man.
He was self-producing, I think, at one point. I don't even understand what the hell went on around here without me. But I also don't know what the hell happened to the respect for the Arizona Diamondbacks, because of course, you know, we don't get any respect. We need to put some respect on the Snake's name, though. The very first MLB power rankings of 2024 have dropped. And of course, the Diamondbacks aren't nearly as high as I believe they should be. I'm sure he's going to have a much more rational take on it, but I'm not happy.
You're not happy?
No, I'm not. I'm not thrilled with it. No, the Arizona Diamondbacks made it to the World Series. They've done nothing but statistically and theoretically improve since then. And MLB has listed them as the 9th team ranked in baseball. Not even worthy of a blurb, Jesse. We're just in there in the list part with the rest of
only the
rest
top
of
5
the
teams
peasants.
got blurbs. Okay, Derek. They weren't going to write about all 30 teams. It's way too early to be talking about power rankings anyway, frankly, because still like all of the free agents are out there, it feels like.
That's true.
But yeah, the Diamondbacks, according to MLB.com, their first run at power rankings in 2024, they have the Diamondbacks at number 9. I will list off the teams that are in front of them. Atlanta Braves, number 1. Dodgers, 2. Texas Rangers, 3. Baltimore Orioles, 4. Phillies, 5. And then we have the Astros at 6, the Rays at 7, and the New York Yankees at 8. My question to you, Derek, would be if you feel that it is a grave injustice that the Arizona Diamondbacks are at number 9, which of those 8 teams do you feel the Diamondbacks should rightly leap over?
Which? The bottom half, Jesse. I would leap the Diamondbacks over the Yankees, the Rays, the Astros, and the Phillies right now, if I'm being quite honest. I'm sorry. Is this not the team that won the National League pennant? Did they not go out there and improve this offseason? I just don't see how you look at that list, at those particular teams, at what they did during the offseason, and really say that they improved their teams more than the Diamondbacks did. Now, I'll give you the Braves and the Dodgers and whatever. Those guys are always going to be up there, and the Dodgers obviously should be. There's no argument. I don't think the Diamondbacks should be higher than 5th, and I do believe that a lot of this is that the perception of their postseason run was that it was somewhat of a fluke in a way. Like they just got hot at the right time.
Which I think we can all appreciate it. There's at least some truth to that, right? I mean, the D-backs won 84 games and they were minus 15 in the regular season. We've talked about this a number of times. Their postseason run was unprecedented given the regular season that they had. But yes, I do agree with you that this team is clearly trending upward. There's a lot of young players on this Diamondbacks team that you anticipate will improve in 2024. And yeah, they have gotten better in a way that a lot of other teams have not. When I look at this list...
Can I just say something really fast?
Sure.
One other thing that really upsets me about that point is where they were at last year's power ranking, right? They weren't like in the 20s or the 20s. They were like in 15. So going to the World Series and improving your team with the free agents that they've proved and the trade they made, they've only gone up 6 spots in the power rankings from where they were with Madison Bumgarner as their number 2 starting pitcher.
It was number 3.
Maybe number 3. Okay.
Well, it was interesting. The other day I was looking at ESPN's preseason power rankings for last year. I guess 2023 is last year now, it's very weird to think about
so
that.
Weird, yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't at the same time that these power rankings were done. It was like right before the season started, and ESPN had the Diamondbacks at 21st.
Okay.
And they projected the D-backs to win 78 games, which is fascinating to me. But yes, getting back to this conversation, I look at the New York Yankees and I see a team that it seems... not that we're necessarily projecting the Diamondbacks to win 90, 95 games or something like that in 2024.
Sure.
I think it's pretty bold to put the Yankees over the Diamondbacks after the season that the Yankees had. I know they have Juan Soto, which is certainly a big move, but I don't know if Juan Soto and Trent Grisham and Alex Verdugo really pushes them into a different tier, especially given the competitiveness of that AL East division and the kind of competition they're going to be dealing with day in, day out. So I'm pretty on board with having the Diamondbacks leapfrog the Yankees. I think that's reasonable. The Houston Astros and the Rays, I mean, that's tough for me, Derek. The Astros have been, an elite team in this league for so long. They were right at the doorstep of the World Series this year. Didn't quite make it there. So yeah, I mean, I could get on board with the Diamondbacks and Astros being on similar footing.
The Rays lost their 2 best players, right? I mean,
the Rays. Yeah, I was thinking you said Astros for a second.
I'm sorry,
but yes,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes, we're talking about the Rays. Yeah, the Rays. That's fair. That's a very fair point with the Rays. Tyler Glass now, obviously a really, really big part of their rotation, even though he hasn't been all that healthy recently. That's a pretty big development for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Wander Franco being part of the penal league in Dominican Republic.
Apparently,
wherever he's going to end up.
Yesterday,
but I'm just saying, he's going. They lost a lot, and obviously that's the thing is when I look at that list, and again, it's fine, right? The Diamondbacks can be disrespected. They can be the underdog. They can not get the credit they deserve. All that MLB wants to, but I personally think that the Diamondbacks have proven that they're better than this. And I mean, again, this is just a preseason ranking. No baseball games have been played. We don't really know.
They just have more to prove. Yeah, it's like I don't really want to disagree with you that like the D-backs maybe do belong in front of some of these teams. I just think that people are always hesitant to read too much into one postseason run.
You have to do it for multiple seasons.
Yeah,
right?
They want to see the D-backs come out in April and May and look like one of the best teams in the league. And then in that case, maybe it really is right to put the D-backs at like number 5 on this list right now. We just don't know it yet.
Well, I do know that the Diamondbacks, like I said, did improve through free agency, but we know there's a lot of free agents still out there on the market. The Barbacast was talking about it's almost unprecedented a little bit. I mean, but not really. Yeah. Like there's been seasons where it's been a little slow, but this is one of the years where free agent signings are really down to start 2024 by comparison, especially to last year. There is so much free agency action still to come, not to mention trades that really haven't been a lot of trades so far, but we did have one really weird trade that was made between the Atlanta Braves and the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, I mean, every trade that Alex Anthopoulos makes at this point is really weird. They're all bizarre, and
it's like you got to wait for the rest of the trade to play out. Like, okay, now who are you trading that guy that you traded for? Right?
Yeah,
like,
clearly the Braves acquired Chris Sale not to have him as a member of the rotation, but to flip him to someone else in some other trade.
It's you with cars, basically. Is what it is.
Exactly. So Chris Sale goes to the Atlanta Braves in exchange for Vaughn Grissom going back to the Boston Red Sox. Chris Sale, of course, one of the greatest pitchers in baseball, not all that long ago, but it has been a number of years before he was really healthy and able to perform at the highest level in 2023. I believe he made a start against the Diamondbacks at one point when the Boston Red Sox were in town at one point during the season. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I remember him looking pretty good in that game. But yeah, Chris Sale is a big name. I mean, this guy was one of the best, one of my favorite pitchers to watch.
Yeah.
Kind of growing up, I mean, his stuff was unlike really anyone else in baseball. It seemed during his prime. He's not that guy anymore. He had a 4.30 ERA, I believe, in 2023 with the Boston Red Sox, over 20 starts. So, that's a decent amount of volume, at least, like 20 starts. You're at least pitching more than half of the season at that point. I don't think anyone's expecting Chris Sale to come into Atlanta and make 30 starts or throw 175 innings or anything. Sure. But the Braves now, I mean, their rotation is very formidable. You have Spencer Strider, you have Max Fried, who theoretically should be healthy. You have Sale, you have Charlie Morton, and you have Bryce Elder, who came on strong really in 2023. Wasn't as good in the second half as in the first half, but it is really a formidable rotation that the Braves have. It's not just that lineup that gets so much attention. The Braves can pitch too, and there's a reason that they were they were number one on this list, not the Los Angeles Dodgers. Correct. Which kind of almost surprised me that MLB.com even was willing to put another team above, the Dodgers, who obviously have had a pretty remarkable offseason.
I think that's fair when you take into consideration what you just said about the Diamondbacks not really doing it. We don't know what this incarnation of the Dodgers is going to be, right? We don't know what this particular team is going to look like or how successful they're going to be, because they are changing quite a few things. And, again, the difference here is that the Braves aren't. The Braves are just adding some pieces to an already formidable lineup, a formidable starting rotation. Chris Sale, by the way, on May 27th, pitched against the Diamondbacks, went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 earned run, struck out 3, walked 1. So he had himself pretty good outing against the D-backs. And again, it's more about the Braves. Like, where he factors into their starting rotation is like, what, their 5th starter, maybe the 4th starter?
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to order it. But
wild. It's wild how good they are. And of course, it is a bit of a reflection of them needing to keep up with the Dodgers, right? But I do agree with the assessment that the Braves on paper are a better team still than the Dodgers at this point until they, do more. It's like, man, the NL just keeps getting tougher and tougher. And the fact that these teams didn't win last year sent them on this crazy spree to improve teams that won 100 plus games. So it's like, look at what we've done. We poked the beast.
I mean, it feels like, I think I already perceived the National League as being the Braves and the Dodgers, and then a sizable gap, and then everyone else. And it just feels like that's even more true in 2024. Yeah. The Braves haven't, I don't want to overstate how much they've actually improved this offseason, because they found a way to make like 14 trades, and you have to like squint to see if they've really gotten better. But I do think that this adds some helpful depth to their rotation. Vaughn Grissom was just kind of an extra player for them. They're so stacked from a position player standpoint, they didn't really have room for him. So yeah, now you've got the Braves being just a real juggernaut of a team, perhaps even more so than before, and the Dodgers obviously with the offseason that they've had. So yeah, the National League got a little bit more top heavy over the weekend.
I love these comments. Elizabeth says D-backs broke the NL, and I love it. Michael,
it's all in reaction to the Diamondbacks.
It is
right.
They lost to a bunch of 23-year-olds and got big mad. LOL, says Michael. Honestly, there is something to be said about the fact that, like Jesse brought this up with the playoffs, where there's no real way to expand the playoffs without hurting these teams that won 100 plus games out of 162. But it does kind of suck that, that a team can get hot here in the playoffs and then all of a sudden do what it did, and these teams need to get deeper, and some of the Braves moves are just assessing maybe some of the ways that they fell short during their postseason run and how they can get better to ensure once they get back there, knowing they will be back there at the end of this season, that they can make it deeper and further. This Diamondbacks team, though, is like it's the talk of baseball. I can't tell you how many people still have that, like we have that, kind of perception of this team because we love this team and we watch them and we rooted for them. But fans of other teams also feel the same way that Elizabeth says here, where it does feel like the D-backs broke the National League and now people need to go out and spend ungodly amounts of money to try to beat a bunch of 23-year-olds. But it's all about team chemistry. We're connected. They're not. There's no changing that. We did have some other signings, the Red Sox got Lucas Giolito for 2 years, $38.5 million.
Yeah, something like that. This was inevitable because me and Sean did a pre-record on Friday for our Saturday show last week, which, by the way, we will have a Saturday show again this week.
That's right.
So
back on Saturday.
A little fun plug there.
Sean won't be back, though.
Yeah, no, Sean's not.
Ever.
He's not allowed back. Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun having Sean on. We went back through the top 10 moments of the D-backs season. If you didn't miss that show, check it out. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. But at the start of the episode, we were talking a little Red Sox. Obviously, Sean been a Red Sox fan sort of for a while, and now he lives in Boston. And
sell out.
And we're talking about how the Red Sox haven't done like a darn thing the whole offseason. And of course, the moment we stop recording this show, the Red Sox make this trade with the Braves and sign Lucas Giolito.
Tyler O'Neill doesn't move you?
Well, we did talk about Tyler O'Neill and the blockbuster move that was, but that didn't exactly grab headlines. I think the Giolito thing happened during the show, so if you go back and listen to it, we probably touched on that briefly. But yeah, 2 years, around $38 million for Giolito, a high dollar value to a guy who posted an ERA that I believe started with a 7 after the crazy waiver claim process started last year, and he bounced between a couple different teams and. He really struggled down the stretch. He's a guy you can count on from an inning standpoint, but I think there's some serious question at this point as to the quality of those innings and kind of what you're getting. He's back-to-back seasons with an ERA in the high 4s, but there's still some upside there, and you can see. I mean, the price for really any kind of starting pitching upside is pretty extreme. I think he's making $18 million in the first year of this deal, which is more than Eduardo Rodriguez will make with the Diamondbacks. He's only making 14. In the first year, according to some of the reporting we've seen. So
he's just had such an up and down career.
Yes.
He had 100%. A great first season with the Chicago White Sox, posting a 2.38 ERA. Next season, gave up the most earned runs in all of baseball the following season. Then the next season after that, lowers his ERA down to 3.41.
Yeah.
Leads the league in complete games and shutouts. So, I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get out of him. He went on to post a sub 3.5 ERA for the next 2 seasons, 3.53 in 2021. And then like 2022 and 2023 weren't great seasons for him. I think obviously it's kind of like bringing someone over here, to the Diamondbacks. There is some belief that if the talent is there, the coaching is in place here for them to potentially get him back to that ERA, but that seemed like a lot of money for a guy that you're still kind of gambling on him.
If you're the D-backs, Erod makes 10 times as much sense in my mind as Giolito.
Yeah.
You just don't have the margin in Arizona to be able to, kind of hope for the best or, see how well you can get Lucas Giolito back to the pitcher that he was. It's funny to think that a few months ago, Giolito was kind of at the top of our list of guys the D-backs should look to trade for at the deadline.
Yep, it sure was.
You look at Giolito's numbers with the White Sox last year, he had a 3.79 ERA in 21 starts. Things just fell apart for him. The moment he went to the Angels, he had 6 starts there with an ERA around 7, and then he fell to the Guardians, 6 starts there, an ERA again around 7. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of assurance with what the Red Sox are getting here, but I mean, it's remarkable the price for starting pitching, right? The fact that a guy like this with, the recent numbers that he's put up getting this much money, it is really crazy.
Speaking of another guy that might have gotten paid too much money, the Reds signed Frankie Montas to a 1-year, $16 million deal, which again, based on his numbers over the last few seasons, seems like an incredible amount of money to pay him. It also feels like a bit of a reclamation project for the Reds that, do they know something we don't hear about Frankie?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the Reds strike me as a team that really needs pitching that they can count on. And so in my mind, it's a little hard for me to understand for them. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy who has put up decent numbers recently, missed almost all of 2023 with injury. But you go back to 2022, he had a 4.05 ERA in 27 starts, a 3.37 the year prior with Oakland. So he's been a pretty good pitcher in this league. But again, I mean, the Reds are going to pay Frankie Montas more than the Diamondbacks are paying Eduardo Rodriguez. obviously the D-backs with Erod, they're paying a lot more in years than they are in AAV. But still, yeah, that comparison is still pretty crazy.
Connor hit the nail on the head. He said every new contract that's given out makes the deals Hazen has made this offseason look like steals. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah, there's some truth to that.
The Gino trade, the Eduardo Rodriguez, signing, all of these things are looking much better comparatively. And maybe that's part of maybe getting those deals done early was a good thing for this team. Maybe, kind of sealing the deal before some of these other contracts were given out. Like, we've talked about Corbin Carroll and what the difference would have been in extending him from the beginning of the season versus the end. Imagine if Eduardo Rodriguez sees Frankie Montas get $16 million a year. Like, that's a hard sell for him to get less than that after that point. So, but there's a lot of free agency action, like we said, still to come. A lot of big names left on the board. Blake Snell still out there. Jordan Montgomery, who I like very much, but I don't think is even a possibility now with the Diamondbacks financial situation. Yeah. A lot of guys that probably aren't, but who knows based on what the Diamondbacks could do. Maybe they'll defer somebody's contract off for 10 years until they have to pay it. But.
Six out of the 10 MLB trade rumors, top 10 free agents, 6 of those 10 guys are still out there. It's Chapman, Snell, Montgomery, Bellinger, Josh Hader, Shota Imanaga. All of those guys have yet to find homes, which is crazy. Yeah, I mean, this has been we do see a lot of fluctuation, as you said earlier, with how early guys sign in free agency. Yeah. But this year is about as extreme as it gets in terms of guys just waiting and kind of playing out the market.
And like I said, I think, and this is just my opinion about it, but I feel like it's the opinion of a lot of people, is that it was waiting for Shohei Ohtani's deal to get done.
Yeah.
And now you mix that with the fact that it got done like right before the holidays and everybody kind of not really goes on break, but there is kind of a pause for
Mike
like
Hazen doesn't go on break.
Mike Hazen doesn't sleep, I don't believe. But yeah, no, of course, I'm sure things are going to pick up here now, but there are a lot of teams out there with a lot of money to spend, and you kind of had to wait to see who was going to win the Shohei sweepstakes in order to see who had money left.
It was
what
Shohei,
those needs were.
Then it was Yamamoto that he kind of held up the starting pitching.
I feel
market.
like Blake Snell has to be next because he's the current Cy Young award winner. So anyway,
Scott Boras holds a concerning number of cards right now.
It's
he can kind of make this market go as long as he wants.
and I hope he just has a whole line of powder blue suits ready to wear for all those press conferences.
Oh, he's about
to have to be in. But anyway, we thank you guys, of course, for being here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. I missed you guys so much. It's great to be back. If you're listening to us right now or you are here, we thank you for being here. If you are subscribed to the channel, we thank you. If you haven't, make sure to do so. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our wonderful shows go live. Leave us a like, as Gabby says, with Gabby's incredible purple hair. I saw that while I was out. And I know you guys are going to endlessly berate me into getting my hair purple. We'll figure out a bet for that. But if you're listening on the audio podcasting side, we appreciate you guys as well. Make sure to subscribe there. Leave us a 5-star review. We always appreciate that. We're very excited to bring you guys some new content this year, by the way. Me and this guy are going to be bringing you some die-hard only exclusive content in the Discord, which includes some episodes literally with us, where we're going to have you guys maybe popping in on video chat with us and joining us. We have a lot of fun things planned for this year. So
because all anyone wants is to just be able to go on like a video chat with Derek. That's all the
part of the diehard chat or Discord thing is going to be, I'm just going to FaceTime you randomly. You have to answer, and we're just going to talk. We're just going to look at each other.
I don't know. Is that an actual selling point of the diehard membership? Maybe that's one of the downsides.
Impromptu.
I don't know.
You'll get me calling you at 6 a.m. That's usually my real.
Yeah, they'll always happen at obscure times.
Yeah, that's when I text Jesse and stuff. But anyway, great time of the year, by the way, to upgrade your home. If you are doing some improvements, a big part of that makes your house look better than you can imagine is installing some new flooring. And with our friends at Empire Today, you can shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee, so you don't have to go shop around. They also service their own warranties, so you don't have to hunt down 3 or 4 different parties. And the best thing about Empire Today is they keep shopping for floors simple. They got a curated product selection, and they will allow you to shop at home, so you don't have to go into a store or a showroom in order to see all that they have to offer. Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see new floors in your home. You can just snap a picture and see what the floors look like in your space. So make sure to check them out. Right now, if you schedule a free in-home estimate today, all listeners can receive a $350 discount when they use the promo code PHNX. Restrictions do apply. See EmpireToday.com/PHNX for details. And of course, that is Empire. You gotta do the other part
today.
There we go. That's perfect.
I took the I had the honor of peeling the tape off the new floor. Empire
yeah,
that we have
I
in
saw that.
Studio
It's
A.
gorgeous.
Me and Saul got to do that earlier, and there aren't a whole lot of like satisfying housekeeping jobs around the office, but that one was near the top of the list.
How nice is that flooring look, by the way?
Oh, it's so good. It's good.
Lovely.
So much better than the one Saul and Jacob installed. Like, those guys don't know what they're doing.
Jacob has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, that brick on the back wall is still holding up strong. So I'm pretty excited about that.
You're taking credit for that?
I'm taking credit for that. Yeah, it looks beautiful back there. I caulked that whole wall, Jesse. I caulked the entire wall. And I will never miss out on an opportunity to say something like that live on the air. But
Die Hard tap dancing? I think that's the suggestion that Jack Summers is making, and that sounds like something you absolutely have to do.
Need to tap dance on that floor, guys. Did you take tap dancing lessons when you were a kid?
No, I did not.
See, that seems
And
like
I never
something.
will.
I feel like you would have taken piano lessons and tap dancing lessons.
I did take piano lessons. I did not.
The world-renowned tap dancer.
Just out of nowhere, busting it out.
I have no dancing capability in any
Have you even tried
sense.
tap dancing, bro?
Do you even know?
I do not tap dance.
We're going to find out. We're going to figure it out. But of course, another thing that looks great in front of that wall is our display of Circle K snacks, which we get Circle K snacks in our office. We don't have to drive to one. I'm not bragging. I'm just stating facts here is what I am stating. But you can go get some delicious Circle K snacks right now at a Circle K near you. They're so close to you. They're right around the corner. And if you sign up for their Inner Circle membership program, you will get 25 cents off per gallon of gas for your first 5 fill-ups right now. And who doesn't need to save some money around this type of the year? I'll give you a pro tip, by the way. You can also level up with their Easy Pay option, which will then get you another 10 cents off per gallon every day, 35 cents off for your first 5 fill-ups right there. Done deal. The Inner Circle, it's free. You can join it today by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. You can visit CircleK.com for details. But they do have, of course, their buy 5, get a 6th one free on a selection of Circle K products, roller items, coffee, pizza, so much more. So don't miss out on joining the Inner Circle and stop by a Circle K near you today. Well, I know it's not Monday, right?
No. We went through this last week. Very disorienting.
Holidays fall on Mondays sometimes, and we have to adapt. So that means, though, that it doesn't change anything. It's the first show of the week, right? Every year is a new year on this podcast. Every month is Hispanic Heritage Month. Every year is a new year, Jesse. Every year is a new year on this podcast. Every month, Hispanic Heritage Month. Every week, Shark Week, obviously. Every day, Earth Day. But of course, today, on a very special Tuesday episode, we're going to the mailbag. Can we go to the mailbag?
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox, and then once in a while there's a letter that makes me go wow, wow. My mailbox.
I mean, can you refute that every year is a new year?
I can't. Yeah,
Right?
I haven't come up with a
every year is
counterpoint
new year.
yet. So,
What do we got in the mailbag, Damon? Let's get to some letters. First tweet comes from Chris at the History Fan on Twitter, and he asks, with the lack of action on a DH, could a 2024 trade be in the works to finalize the D-backs? Jesse?
yeah, this is interesting. I do think it is possible that the Diamondbacks, in their designated hitter search, we've obviously talked a lot about free agents on this show, but there are some trade options floating around there as well. At least I think there could be. I don't know exactly the nature of the market on some of these guys. We haven't really gotten any reporting on anything like that. But yeah, we talked about Eloy Jimenez on the show a little bit as one potential trade option there. Someone whose contract situation with the White Sox probably makes it so that he wouldn't be all that expensive in a trade in terms of like trade capital that you'd be giving up. Harold Ramirez from the Tampa Bay Rays, a guy that a lot of people may not have even heard of, which should be very understandable. But he put up some pretty good numbers last year with the Rays. He hit 313, 353, 460. A guy who doesn't, he's not really giving you any defensive value. He could kind of slot into that DH position for the Diamondbacks and make some sense. So again, I don't know exactly the market there, but I could maybe see something happen.
It makes me a little nervous to make a trade with the Rays. I don't know why, but they are one team
That's
that
fair.
I feel like always get they always come out on top of their trades, right? Even if they do let go of some star player, that person ends up getting paid, a bazillion dollars that the franchise would have never paid him anyway. So they part ways at the right time. Usually we scream and yell about them parting ways with guys when they do, and yet it somehow seems to work out. So the Rays is a team I'm scared to do a trade deal with, because I feel like they're going to end up fleecing us for some reason.
You feel better about the White Sox?
Oh, I absolutely feel better about the White Sox. The White Sox are a fucking dumpster fire right now. And honestly, I think that's the perfect time to pick the bones and take advantage, right?
They've got some new leadership now. So
we got a friend over there, Barfield.
Josh Barfield is there. Chris Getz is running the show for the White Sox. It's a pretty different group than what's been there recently.
Very true.
But
a great group, actually. The White Sox have a lot, I think, of positive things coming in their future if they can, utilize the strengths and the talents of those guys to make that team better. But they're there. They're there.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else we got, Damon? And this kind of goes with that question as well. With Chris's question, Michael asks, this won't be a popular question, but I'll ask it. Looking at his defensive numbers, are we sure the D-backs' best DH option isn't Ketel Marte? And Michael might not be wrong, and we have Damon doing like touchdown poses over there behind the computer.
We talked about this the entirety of last season.
They did.
That it could conserve him from a hitting standpoint and really, I think, help him at the plate and keeping him healthy.
Yeah, that's a really fair point. Ketel did take a significant step forward defensively this past season. He was not excellent by any means at second second base, but he was perfectly fine. He had 2 defensive runs saved, 0 outs above average. He's basically a net zero defensively. He's not really going to help you, but he's not going to hurt you either. That was a pretty big difference from the year prior, where Ketel was at -6 defensive runs saved and -3 outs above average in 2022. So he was better defensively in 2023. And as of now, I think you still try to leverage that as long as you can. Like, as long as Ketel is a serviceable second baseman, you're going to get the most value out of him as a player if you do that. To Damon's point, though, there are obviously some durability questions there. And, maybe if you get him off his feet, not like every day, but maybe even just more often, if that's an opportunity that you have, that might not be a bad thing, especially as he continues to age.
Imagine how fast he would run down to first when he walks.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
It would be wild.
I mean, he's already running like, 25, 30 miles an hour?
I mean, it's crazy.
I
will say this, though. I think maybe part of Michael's question that he's not saying there, and I could just be putting words in his mouth, was if they do that, then do they pursue a second baseman then in free agency or through a trade instead of trying to use somebody in-house like Jace Peterson?
Right. Yeah, and that's where it gets complicated for me, is if you move Ketel to DH, then all right, what are you doing at second base now? And I mean, I guess like against righties, you could start Perdomo at short and Jace Peterson at second, and then against lefties, it's Lawler at short and Perdomo at second. It's hard to make it work. It wouldn't be an ideal situation right now with the players that they have on the roster. I think you'd just be trying to plug another hole, and I'm not sure that hole is really easier to plug than the DH spot. So something to consider moving forward. I do think there is a world in which Ketel has to move to DH, or it is clearly in his best interest to do so in the not too distant future. His contract goes out through 2027. There's 4 more guaranteed years on this deal. But for now, I would expect you'd want to keep Ketel at second for at least 1 more season and then make that change whenever you have to.
I completely agree with you on that one. All right, what else we got? Travis Moore at Moore for Me, I like that, on Twitter, asks, how do you think the D-backs view Blake Walston's ceiling? They projected him in the round 5 draft, protected him in the Rule 5 draft, but every write-up I read says he projects as a 4 to 5 starter at best. Feels as though the expectations of him continue to drop since he's been drafted. Will he contribute this season? I think this is possibly an effect of the Diamondbacks AA and AAA teams, potentially. It's hard for starting pitchers within this organization at times to shine when the last 2 levels of their minor league stint is at ballparks that are extremely hitter friendly. It just
very true.
A lot of times it's not necessarily about the statistics, but the peripherals that Jesse talks about. It's about some of the other other metrics and not necessarily about their performance. But I mean, right now, I think the Diamondbacks have it's a good opportunity for someone like him because the Diamondbacks are completely holding an open competition when it comes to the final starting rotation spot. He could make that impact in spring training. He could possibly do something to win himself that job. So I think, again, four or five, starting pitcher in the rotation isn't the worst, I guess, ceiling for someone like Blake Walston. I know he was highly thought of at times, but I don't think he hasn't worked out. I just think that there is a lot of potential to once again get him to the major league club and have him start receiving that coaching from Brent Strom and from Torey Lovullo.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a 4.52 ERA in Reno, and it's like, dang, I mean, considering the ballpark environment that you just touched on, that's pretty darn good. Like a 4.52 ERA is pretty good. But then you look at the peripheral numbers, which you also mentioned, and he barely had more strikeouts than walks. It was a 15.6% strikeout rate in AAA, which is very low, and a 14% walk rate, which is very high. And you just don't really project players who don't get a lot of swing and miss in AAA and are walking a bunch of guys in AAA, regardless of what their ERA is. It's hard to project those players to be impact major leaguers without, kind of working out some of those issues and trying to get better. I think it's probably quite a bit of it would be quite a stretch for him to be on the opening day roster as a starter.
Correct.
Wouldn't totally rule it out, but Tommy Henry, Ryan Nelson, Slate Ciccone, there's a lot of guys ahead of him on that depth chart. But yeah, his case is interesting. The D-backs drafted him back in 2019, 26th overall. He's 6'5", listed at 6'5", 175 back when they took him. There's so much projectability there. He was apparently touching like mid upper 90s in his first taste of professional baseball. And that velocity just hasn't followed him through the years. I looked through his velo logs for the 2023 season in Reno. His four-seamer averaged anywhere from 89 to 93 in those games, and his season average was right around 91, which is just not what the Diamondbacks were hoping for when they drafted this guy, right? If you draft a guy who's 6'5", who has that kind of projectability, you're like, yeah, we can get this guy up into the mid-90s. And that's just never come, and it's really limited the ceiling that Blake Walston has.
Somebody in the chat told me I was looking very good today, and that's the nicest comment I think I've ever received in the history of the show. Jesse, is that right?
That shirt you're wearing is pretty neat.
It's a pretty sick one, right? All right. Yeah. We got a lot of local love for the Diamondbacks in town now, so of course that helps everything when it comes to this team and the interest in the team. But I definitely appreciate nice comments because the internet is a terrible place, and most people think I suck. So thank you for that. Do we have any more questions there in the first mailbag here? Oh, our buddy Tim Ankenman. I think I'm saying that right. He says, my New Year's resolution is to read more. Do you have any good book suggestions? I think Jesse gave me baseball statistics for dummies like last year for Christmas.
Not for
right?
dummies, okay? that might have been what it really was, but it wasn't titled that, okay?
Fine. Okay, so I'll give you my favorite book, by the way, Jesse, the book I'm talking about was by Vince. Was it Castrovins? It's Castrovins.
Anthony Castrovins.
Anthony Castrovins, yeah. And it's a great book. It actually talks about quite a bit about why statistics that we are used to don't really have that same value as the newer statistics. I know I give Jesse a lot of grief on this show, but there was great explanations in there why things like ERA and stuff are kind of outdated statistics that shouldn't matter as much as FIP. But it was a fun read. I enjoyed it. So thank you for giving me a book. I'm going to go with Killers of the Flower Moon. That was a very good book I read this year. I didn't read very many books.
This year?
Last year. Yeah, 2023 is what last year.
So
fast. I already got 2 books in. I also read a lot of comic books. So based on James Gunn taking over the DC universe, I tried to fill myself in on a lot of good graphic novels. Graphic novels are great, by the way. Make sure not to miss out on those. And by the way, go to your public library. I don't know why I need to say this, but there's so much good at your public library. And even if you don't like regular books, comic books, biographies, there's so much great stuff there.
I haven't been to a public library in a
And there's
long
there's
time.
computers you can go on and increase your YouTube numbers if you happen to have a show that you air live.
Is that what you do at the library?
Yeah, I just go onto all of them. I go up and down the rows. We're up almost 1,400%.
Yeah, you just play our
from
videos
2022,
on repeat.
and that's how that happened, Jesse. You got any books?
I wish I was 10 times the reader that I am. I find that on the day-to-day,
It's not like you have time.
doing this job, and I read so many articles and whatnot. I don't read as much long-form material as I wish I did. A book I'm really excited to dig into, hopefully soon, early on this year, hopefully before the season starts, is Future Value, which is another nerdy baseball book. I know it's shocking that that's my recommendation. It's the battle for baseball's soul and how teams will find the next superstar. That's like sort of the sub headline. It's written by Eric Longenhagen and Kylie McDaniel, who are two fantastic baseball analysts. And it's basically about kind of along the lines of what you were saying earlier. Like, what are those underlying metrics that teams are really looking at on the day-to-day to decide which players they're moving on from, which players they're continuing with? It really goes so unbelievably deep. And I've heard great things about this book, and it kind of digging into this. I'm sure, I might know a few things, but I certainly still have a lot to learn. And that's a book that I'm looking forward to getting into.
Read any book by Jeff Passan, by the way.
Any book
You're not
by
gonna be
Jeff
disappointed
Passan. He
by
wrote
any book by Jeff
he wrote the little blurb that's at the top of the book to like help it sell.
That's the
he
other
didn't
one,
write
too.
the actual book, but
if Jeff Passan endorses it, read it. That's another thing.
Yeah,
if
there
he
you
writes
go.
it, read it. If he whatever. I forget who wrote that Diamond Books history book that I really hated, but it really had some great.
There's a Diamondbacks history.
Oh,
book.
I hated it so much, but I will say that it had a lot of great information in it. So go
The
again.
only thing I read is Jesse Friedman's articles on PHNX.com.
It's really all
great.
you need.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah, it's really anything else is just.
Go check those out right now over at gophnx.com. While you're there, get yourself a diehard membership. What are you doing? Start 2024 off on the right foot. Pitchers and catchers are reporting in a few days. It feels like. I know it's like a month and 2 weeks, but it'll be here before we know it. Spring training will be here before you know it. So make sure to join us. Don't miss out on anything this guy has to offer or any of the exclusive content that we're going to be bringing you in 2024, as well as get yourself a free t-shirt, discounts with our partners, and so much more. So sign up today for a membership over at gophnx.com. And also, if you haven't already downloaded the BetMGM Sportsbook app, maybe try doing that now. It's a great way to get down on the end of the NFL season. By the way, I won our PHNX Fantasy Football League. I know that has nothing to do with gambling on BetMGM, but anytime I talk about winning
until like 40,
or doing anything,
40 minutes into the show.
I know it took a while, right? It took a while. I have a championship merch being made up. I designed it. All the Toe Tree merch got sent somewhere else to some other country because no one wants that. But I will say BetMGM does make everything more fun. It makes sports more fun. And of course, right now you can get down on possibly receiving up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your bet loses with BetMGM. All you got to do is download the app or visit betmgm.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your BetMGM Sportsbook account and use our code of PHNX. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. Sign up today and use that bonus code of PHNX. Once you place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager, again, through the Sportsbook mobile application of at least $10, if that bet loses, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Ontario.
I did that by myself last week.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't here for that. There's some love in the chat for Lord of the Rings books. I read all of those books several times when I was
really.
Yeah, I used to work a really boring job at a paging and cellular company, so I had a lot of time on my hands. Read them multiple times, actually. Nicholas has a hot take. This is for Tim, since Tim's here. He says the Witcher books are better, Lord of the Rings walk so the Witcher could run. I do enjoy that video game, so maybe I'll have to check out the Witcher books. One thing you guys can check out, of course, is Game Time if you need tickets for all of those Diamondbacks games you're going to attend next year. You know, you never know when you're going to go, when you're going to want to go, when a milestone is going to potentially happen. So sometimes you can't miss out on those experiences live. You can get yourself last-minute tickets for sporting events, concerts, and so much more over at Game Time. It's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Download the tickets immediately. It's a very aesthetically pleasing app. We love Game Time. And, of course, if you have FOMO and you don't want to miss out, do not miss out on downloading Game Time. You can snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, we got some more Mailbag Tuesday questions. I got to make sure I say that right. Mailbag Tuesday. What do we got, Damon? Next question comes from Hanley, and he says, Mr. Mayor, congrats on the PHNX championship. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate you. He wants to know, who is your fantasy football MVP, and would you say your team was a connected team? You're goddamn right it was a connected team. I have a lot of people to thank right here, and I'm ready to do it. Of course, I want to give a shout out to Josh Allen, who was my MVP all season long. The man did it with his arms or his legs when his arms weren't working. And I appreciate the fact that I only had to have 1 week in week 13, I believe, when I had to bench him due to his bye week. It was a beautiful run. And I appreciate, even though the Bills weren't very good, that he remained outstanding for me. Big shout out to big brother Brandon Ayuk. ASU forks up, gave me the championship with his performance for the San Francisco 49ers. Honorable mention to that piece of shit Austin Eckler, who I drafted with my overall #1 pick when I could have got Tyreek Hill and just slaughtered this fucking entire office when it came to this fantasy football league. But most importantly, I want to thank Anthony Totri, who's here right now, because we had an incredible battle where I beat him by less than half of a point. Less than half of a point. Can you imagine?
He wants to shake your hand.
I know.
How
can you imagine the
respectful.
Disappointment? Can you imagine the hurt in this man's heart?
Yeah, it
and yet here he is.
Hey,
Here he is shaking my hand.
well, next year.
Next year.
We're on a next year.
Hey, next year. Every year is our year. Next year,
every
right?
year's our year.
Yeah, that's the thing around here.
Go Devils.
Yeah, whatever. Get out of here, loser. Anyway, I won, and that's my speech. I don't think I have anything else. I did a lot of maneuvering throughout the year, but I think the big thing that got me over the hump, the one thing that won me the championship, I went through and individually gave each one of my players a nickname this season. And that, I think, was the biggest thing, is I just showed that I cared more than everybody in this office. I also made an incredible logo, which was Johnny doing the beer chug, you guys remember, from like way back in the day when we first started. But I made him into like a little Stone Cold Steve Austin. I put him on SmackDown. It's fantastic. I'll show you guys someday. Post it on Twitter or
Mine
something.
and Jesse's teams didn't deserve nicknames.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
Let's talk about Damon's team for a minute, because Damon's
We
team
both passed on
scored.
Tyreek Hill, and Damon lost.
Correct.
Anyway.
And Damon lost anyway. He also scored more points than anybody, hands down. And it was just one heartbreaking disappointment after the next for him all season long. But you know what he didn't do? He didn't end up in last place. That goes to our GM, Saul Bookman, who at one point in our fantasy football chat egregiously texted us all that there was a 0% chance of him finishing last. And not only did he finish last, but he's finished last in a spectacular fashion. There is a toilet bowl division in our I know a lot of fantasy football leagues have this. I've never actually seen one played out where the loser with the least amount of points is the one that advances. And Saul even lost that. He came in dead last.
Yeah, well, you get a bye because you can't. You can't play for as good a final position as everyone else. So you don't even get to play in the first round of the toilet.
Right.
I know because I was the other person who got a bye.
He was.
Round of the toilet
You know what
bowl,
he didn't do though? He didn't come in last place.
No,
And that-
I won both games.
He did.
I won both toilet bowl games.
In fact, I believe you would have beat me in the finals with your point total.
I
I know
probably would have,
Johnny Venerable, who was in the toilet bowl final versus Saul Bookman, put up the most points that week that any team I think did all season
like
long.
200 points.
It was
or something.
wild.
Crazy.
It was crazy. But yeah, no, I just wanted to. I think I covered everything, right?
I think
cool.
so.
Suck it, Cardinal Screw. All right, what else we got? Next one comes from Brett Lee Johnson. Brett asks, if the D-backs get priced out of the backup catcher market, Hadn't have to look internally. Does Adrian Del Castillo having a shot at the role over Jose Herrera? Not sure his defense, but his numbers at the plate look solid between AA and AAA. I believe they kind of made it sound like they were going to be holding a competition there for the backup catcher role.
Yeah, I think it probably will be a competition. I don't know if they were really ever planning to bring in someone who was really good enough to be, that's your clear-cut backup catcher, over everyone else. It's kind of always seemed like there was potential for a competition to happen here involving Jose Herrera. And yeah, I do think Adrian Del Castillo probably factors into that. I don't anticipate that he will be the one who ultimately lands that role. That would be a pretty big step for him. But he did reach AAA in 2023, and I think he's reached a point defensively where he's at least a viable catcher in the big leagues. And his offense is good. It is probably, I don't think it'd be all that crazy to expect that he could be a better hitter on opening day than Jose Herrera if they were both in there at the same time. The defense I've never seen in person, of course. Heard that it is passable. It has reached a point of being, good enough to play in the majors, but we don't, we're not going to really know what that looks like until we see it. So yeah, I still think the D-backs will make some sort of outside addition here, but yeah, I don't know if I was ever expecting it to be like a Gary Sanchez type or anyone like that. We'll see.
All right. Yeah, what he said. I repeat everything he said. All right, what do we got, Dim? Brian Bobbitt asks, which Diamondback do you think was the one up until 4 a.m. partying on New Year's Day, and which one was in bed by 9 p.m.? Oh, this is a dangerous question because I feel like I'm just telling whichever pitcher or whichever player that they went to bed at 9 p.m. to just get fucked, nerd. Is that what I'm telling them? Like, you don't have a social life? I don't feel like that. I want to say Corbin Carroll because I feel like Corbin Carroll, the most important thing to Corbin Carroll is getting a good night's rest and getting better at baseball the next day. However, on New Year's Eve,
yeah, I still think
dating Miss America still. I think you're waiting up until midnight for that kiss. I think. I'm just saying that's a kiss.
I feel like the younger guys who are not married, like don't have families at this point, be more. I mean, they're gonna stay up, right? At least until midnight.
Yeah.
But like guys who have kids and maybe have had kids for a while, like I think about Paul Sewald.
Paul Sewald fell asleep on the couch.
Yeah, like that wouldn't totally.
Yeah, Paul Sewald was in charge of lighting off the Walmart fireworks outside, and he fell asleep on the couch.
Christian Walker doesn't give a shit at all.
Oh yeah, no. You're right. Christian Walker maybe sat around a fire, rode some horses, and went to bed at whatever damn time he wanted to.
He does that every night.
Yeah. Tommy Pham stayed up until 4 a.m. Right?
Yeah.
Tommy Pham might still be awake from New Year's Eve right now as we speak.
Did you see he posted a screenshot of his fantasy football victory? There you go. You and Tommy Pham.
Let's go, Tommy! We did it!
Rumor is Derek slapped Totri too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was over a trade, but I felt like he deserved it. Lourdes, definitely. Well, see, Lourdes is kind of that family man that you're talking about. Every time we see Lourdes outside, it's like kind of like Eduardo Rodriguez. It seemed like his family very important, wants to spend time with those little ones that he has.
Sure,
so
yeah.
I don't know, but Lourdes, I mean, Gabby for sure. Gabby, Alec Thomas.
He stayed up. Gabby stayed up.
These guys were all up at 4 a.m. till 4 a.m. together, right? Jerry? Yeah. Like they were together.
I think Jerry might have gone
Dre Jameson, Jake McCarthy, these guys, they were all at something together. I feel that for sure. But yeah, no, that's a great question, by the way. Thank you for that one. You got anybody else to add? You covered everybody?
All right. That's it. I think I'm done speculating on who
stayed up late and who went to bed early
on New Year's Eve.
All right. What else we got? Last question comes from our pal Gabriel at Bold as Bronze. And he says, if you had to cast the 2023 D-backs movie, who would you choose? I got the playoff starters, Gallen, Kyle Mooney. Yeah, that's a good one. Gallen, Kyle Mooney, Merrill Kelly,
similar.
Chris Elliott. Merrill Kelly is Chris Elliott. So yeah, there's no one else that you cast in that particular role. And then
have you ever seen them in the same place?
I have never. No. And honestly, I mean, I've seen him wear a beanie and do the woogie scratch on his beard, and yeah, that man knows exactly what he looks like.
I didn't recognize Chris Elliott's name, and so I looked it up real quick, and I know who he is. That is uncanny.
It is. It's the only person.
Some pictures of him
do
look like they are the same person.
They are.
Level of
it's hard. Brandon Pfaadt, that's a good one. I'm not familiar with that actor, but then I looked him up, and it's a good one.
It's Australian.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between Brandon Pfaadt's Southern accent and the Australian accent that I would suspect that Jacob Elordi would have. So
it's the cheeks. You got to get the cheeks nice and rosy.
Jacob Elordi's played many roles where he's American.
Okay,
so he can speak like an American.
Does he know how to pronounce Louisville correctly?
Louisville.
Is that in his arsenal?
He has to. You got to go spend some time in Kentucky before you can play that role. I've been watching too much Percy Jackson lately. So with Gallon, I was like, what about Lin-Manuel Miranda? Just because I would like to see Zach Gallen sing a musical on the mound. That would be incredible. Whatever movie breaks out in the song.
The D-backs postseason, the musical.
The musical? Now we're talking.
I will be there no matter what.
Yeah, right. There's also a kid that plays Percy Jackson, and I think he's going to grow up to look exactly like Zach Gallen. So maybe in a few years, Walker Scoble will be Zach Gallen in that movie. But there's no one else we're casting as Merrill Kelly. That's a done deal. There could probably be other guys. I don't know. It's hard.
I mean, you're not going to get any advice from me.
You're not
going to. Don't look at me.
I might as well not look at you at all. But we did cast the 2001 movie, and I felt like I did a pretty good job of that back in the day. So go make sure to check that out. But we thank you guys, of course, for the questions, and we thank you guys for being here, for making it through to 2024. This is not this has not been an easy year, but for us Diamondbacks fans, we had a lot of fun there at the end. So. Really thankful to have you guys here. Really thankful to be back myself. John, we're getting requests from you guys here for the movie role. Elizabeth says Corbin Carroll is Charles Melton, Christian Walker is Jared Kiso, and Tori is Ray Romano. I want to see Ray Romano, and that's at least the sound alike there. There's some similar sounding there, but let's keep figuring it out. Who's going to play us? I know. Robert Downey Jr. for me, Jesse.
Yeah, that tracks.
It does. Sense. I mean, it's got to put on a little weight.
Zac Efron for sure for me.
Yeah, with the mustache, by the way. It's got to have the mustache.
The very polarizing mustache.
Yeah. We'll I know there's got to be a million people to cash.
There's one. I think he was in one of the first Star Wars movies that they made, like the big Star Wars movies that they made after the.
Is it Hayden Christensen?
I don't know actors' names, Derek, but someone who's in a Star Wars movie. People think I look like, and that's about all I have to say on that.
That might be like the least descriptive thing I've ever heard.
It's Jar Jar Binks.
In one of the Star Wars movies, one of the 12 Star Wars movies, somebody.
There's like 15 shows. I don't know, somebody in there. But.
Somebody knows. Somebody who is listening or watching right now knows who I'm talking about. Because it's happened like multiple times. I've gotten multiple like, oh, you look like
Gabriel's
such and
Gabriel's
such
dad
person.
Says Tom Holland for Jesse. Let's go.
There we go. I get that a lot too.
You got to take that one.
You got to take it.
That
Take it and run. Well, we are going to run now, but we appreciate you guys for stopping by. We thank you as always for your time. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_caveman with a K. This absolute maniac next to me is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, the people's producer behind the Mac is the one and only Damon. He is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We are Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark. Of course, you can follow our show at PHNX_Dbacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We appreciate you guys. We thank you so much for your time. And we can't wait to see you tomorrow. In the meantime, we'll see you then. Remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you stay up until 4 a.m. on New Year's Day.
We all silly like the mayor.